The wind howled through the jagged mountain pass as Emma Parker stood at the edge of the cliff, her eyes fixed on what should have been impossible. Suspended between earth and sky, the gleaming fuselage of a Boeing 727 jutted from the mountainside like a metallic phoenix frozen in time. This wasn't just an abandoned aircraft, it was now someone's home. And as the morning sun caught the polished aluminum skin, Emma knew her life was about to change forever. Before we continue this incredible journey, if you're as amazed as I was when I first discovered this remarkable story, hit that like button and subscribe to join our community of architectural adventurers. Trust me, what you're about to see will redefine what you thought possible in sustainable living. 5 years earlier, Marcus Chen had been a successful aerospace engineer with everything society told him he should want: the corner office, the luxury apartment, the respect of his colleagues. But as he sat in gridlocked traffic for the third time that week, something inside him finally broke. The same hands that designed components for spacecraft now gripped his steering wheel with white knuckles, his breath coming in short, panicked gasps. The city was suffocating him. That night, scrolling through his phone to distract himself from another sleepless night, Marcus stumbled across an article about abandoned aircraft graveyards. The image of dozens of forgotten planes, their once proud frames slowly surrendering to the elements, stirred something in him. Where others saw decay, Marcus saw possibility. It took him 6 months to find the right aircraft, a decommissioned 727 destined for scrap. Another 4 months to secure the remote Cliffside property in the mountains that had been in his family for generations but deemed unbuildable by conventional standards. His colleagues thought he was having a breakdown. His parents worried he was throwing away his career. Only his sister Lily understood. "You've spent your life building things that help others escape," she told him over their weekly video call. "Maybe it's time you built something that helps you stay." The logistics were nightmarish. The costs, astronomical. The permits, nearly impossible. 3 different contractors quit, calling the project suicidal. But Marcus was an engineer, he didn't see problems, only equations waiting to be solved. The day they airlifted the stripped fuselage to the cliffside, a small crowd of locals gathered in the valley below. Some came to witness what they were sure would be a spectacular failure. Others were drawn by simple curiosity. No one expected what happened next. As the massive helicopter lowered the gleaming silver tube onto the custom-built foundation that extended from the cliff face, a spontaneous cheer erupted. Something about seeing the abandoned aircraft, once destined for destruction, now suspended between earth and sky struck a chord in everyone present. It was as if they were witnessing the physical manifestation of second chances. But the real work was just beginning. Winter came early that year, bringing with it challenges that no blueprint could have prepared them for. Winds that threatened to tear the aircraft from its moorings. Snow that isolated Marcus and his small team for weeks at a time. The cold that seeped through every seam, making each day a battle against the elements. During one particularly brutal storm, Marcus found himself alone in what would eventually become the main living area, the half-finished space creaking and groaning around him as gale-force winds battered the exterior. Huddled in his sleeping bag, he questioned everything: his sanity, his abilities, his dream. "I can't do this," he whispered to the darkness, his words lost in the howling wind. Morning brought clear skies and a visitor. Lily had driven through the night, navigating treacherous mountain roads after his distressed call. "I brought reinforcements," she said, unloading supplies from her truck. Behind her, a rugged man with weathered hands and knowing eyes nodded in greeting. "This is Jack," Lily explained. "He's been building in these mountains for 40 years. Says your idea isn't crazy, just needs the right approach." Jack became more than a contractor, he became the project's soul. His understanding of the mountain, its moods, its strengths, its dangers, transformed what had been a battle against nature into a partnership with it. Under his guidance, the design evolved to work with the environment rather than against it. The aircraft's wings, initially slated for removal, were reinforced and repurposed as dramatic cantilevered decks that extended the living space beyond the fuselage. The cockpit, with its panoramic windows, became a meditation space where the boundary between inside and outside seemed to dissolve. The tail section, rising dramatically from the cliff edge, housed a spiral staircase leading to a rooftop observation deck. But Jack's most important contribution wasn't structural, it was spiritual. He taught Marcus to listen to the mountain, to respect its power rather than try to conquer it. And in doing so, he helped heal something broken inside the young engineer. As spring melted into summer, the transformation accelerated. Solar panels and wind turbines were integrated into the design, making the home not just sustainable but self-sufficient. A sophisticated water collection system gathered rainwater and morning dew. The interior, once stripped of its utilitarian airline fixtures, was reborn with warm woods, natural textiles, and strategic glass installations that framed the breathtaking views like living artwork. Word of the project spread. What had begun as a local curiosity became a social media phenomenon. Sustainable architecture blogs featured speculative articles. Aviation enthusiasts debated the technical merits. Critics dismissed it as an expensive folly. Through it all, Marcus and his growing team kept working, shielded from the noise by the very remoteness that made their project so challenging. Then came the setback that nearly ended everything. A regulatory inspection revealed structural concerns where the aircraft connected to the cliff foundation. The issues weren't just cosmetic, they were potentially catastrophic. The entire project was shut down pending review. For 3 agonizing months, Marcus fought through bureaucratic red tape, engineering challenges, and his own deepening depression. The costs mounted. His savings dwindled. Investors who had shown interest backed away, unwilling to gamble on what increasingly seemed like an impossible dream. It was Lily who found the solution, not in engineering journals or architectural precedents, but in the history of the mountain itself. The indigenous people who first lived here didn't build against the mountain, she explained, spreading old photographs across Marcus's makeshift desk. They built with it. Their structures followed the natural contours, used the existing rock formations as foundations. This insight led to a radical redesign of the connection points. Instead of forcing the aircraft to conform to conventional building methods, they adapted ancient techniques that had weathered centuries of the mountain's moods. The result was not just structurally sound, it was beautiful, organic, as if the aircraft and mountain had grown together. When construction resumed, something had changed. The project was no longer just Marcus's vision, it had become a community endeavor. Local artisans contributed their skills. Neighboring families brought food for the workers. Children from the Valley School wrote letters about what they thought it would be like to live in an airplane house. 1 year after that terrible storm that had nearly broken his spirit, Marcus stood in the completed main living area, watching as the setting sun painted the interior with amber light. The space that had once transported hundreds of strangers to distant destinations now held the stillness of home. That night, he slept in his creation for the first time. The gentle creaking of the aircraft adjusting to the cooling evening air sounded not like stress or strain, but like a conversation between old friends. The home was completed just as autumn painted the surrounding forest in fiery hues. What had begun as one man's escape from urban suffocation had evolved into something far more profound, a testament to human ingenuity, environmental stewardship, and the healing power of purpose. Which brings us back to Emma Parker, standing at the cliff's edge, gazing at the impossible home. As an architectural journalist specializing in unconventional dwellings, Emma had documented dozens of unique homes. But nothing had prepared her for this. The photographs that had gone viral didn't capture the emotional impact of seeing the structure in person, how it somehow managed to be both boldly assertive and perfectly harmonious with its surroundings. "It's something else, isn't it?" a voice said behind her. Emma turned to find a man with kind eyes and the relaxed posture of someone completely at home in his environment. "Marcus Chen," he said, extending his hand. "Welcome to Phoenix House." The tour that followed would change the trajectory of Emma's career and life. Each space within the transformed aircraft told a story of challenge and innovation. The galley, once designed for efficient meal service, was now a state-of-the-art kitchen where locally sourced ingredients were prepared with views that made cooking feel like a spiritual practice. The passenger cabin had been opened up into flowing living spaces, with strategic walls and dividers creating intimate areas without sacrificing the sense of openness. But it was the people, not the architecture, that truly moved her. Marcus, who spoke about his creation not with the ego of a visionary but with the gratitude of someone who had been saved by his own project. Lily, whose unwavering belief in her brother's dream had sustained him through the darkest moments. Jack, now in his 70s, who had found in this unconventional project a fitting capstone to his building career. And then there were the unexpected residents, a young couple who served as caretakers when Marcus was away, a botanist who maintained the vertical gardens that helped insulate the structure, an astronomer who used the observation deck for her research. What had begun as one man's escape had evolved into a small, intentional community. As the sun set on her final evening at Phoenix House, Emma joined Marcus on the wing deck that extended over the valley below. "Why did you agree to let me document this?" she asked. "You've turned down so many other requests." Marcus was quiet for a moment, his gaze fixed on the horizon where the last light was fading. "Because it was never really about the airplane," he finally said. "Or even about the house. It was about finding a way to live that didn't require me to abandon either my values or my dreams. And that's a story worth sharing." Emma's documentary, released 6 months later, captured not just the technical marvel of the Cliffside airplane home, but the human journey behind it. The struggles, the failures, the moments of doubt, and ultimately, the triumph not just of engineering but of spirit. The response was overwhelming. Sustainable architects cited it as a case study in adaptive reuse. Mental health professionals noted the therapeutic aspects of Marcus's journey. But most moving were the thousands of messages from ordinary people who found in the story permission to reimagine their own lives. 5 years after that first visit, Emma returned to Phoenix House. The aircraft gleamed just as brilliantly in the mountain sun, but much had changed. The surrounding property now hosted several smaller sustainable dwellings, each unique, each connected to the central Phoenix House by both design philosophy and community purpose. A learning center welcomed architecture students and sustainability researchers. Gardens terraced down the less steep portions of the mountainside. Marcus greeted her with the same warm smile, though new lines around his eyes spoke of both challenges and laughter in the intervening years. "You've been busy," Emma observed as they walked the property. "We all have," he corrected gently. "What you're seeing isn't my creation anymore, if it ever truly was. It's what happens when people are given space to reimagine what's possible." That evening, as residents and visitors gathered for the community meal that had become tradition, Emma found herself seated next to an elderly woman she didn't recognize. "First time here?" the woman asked, passing a bowl of locally harvested greens. "No," Emma replied. "But it's been a while. I made the documentary about this place." The woman's eyes lit up with recognition. "Oh. You're the one who told the story. Do you know what happened after I watched it? I sold my house of 40 years and moved into a converted water tower. Best decision of my life." Before Emma could respond, Marcus stood, calling for attention. The gathered community quieted. "We have a tradition here at Phoenix House," he explained, his voice carrying easily through the open space. "Each evening, we share one moment of beauty we witnessed today, and one challenge we helped each other overcome." As the sharing moved around the circle, stories of morning light through dew-covered windows, of a solar panel array rescued from storm damage, of a child's first successful garden harvest, Emma felt something shift inside her. The cynicism that had crept into her professional perspective over years of documenting architectural trends and fleeting innovations began to dissolve. This wasn't just a clever repurposing of an abandoned aircraft. It wasn't just an Instagram-worthy architectural marvel. It was a living testament to what becomes possible when we refuse to accept the limitations of conventional thinking, about our homes, our communities, and ultimately, our lives. Later that night, standing on the observation deck under a canopy of stars, Emma made her decision. The follow-up documentary she'd been planning would become something more, a series exploring unconventional dwellings around the world that were more than just buildings. They were manifestos written in wood and stone, metal and glass, each telling a story of human resilience and imagination. As dawn broke over the mountains, painting Phoenix House in golden light, Emma captured one final shot for her personal collection. The aircraft home, once an anomaly, now seemed to belong to the cliff as naturally as the ancient pines that surrounded it. What had begun as one man's desperate escape from conventional life had become a beacon for others seeking their own path. If you've stayed with us until the end of this incredible journey, you already know this isn't just about an airplane turned into a house. It's about the courage to reimagine what's possible in our lives. If this story has inspired you, hit that like button and subscribe to join our community. Together, we'll continue exploring the extraordinary ways people are transforming not just spaces, but lives. Until next time, remember, the most beautiful homes aren't built with just materials, they're built with vision, perseverance, and heart. And as the camera panned out for one last sweeping view of Phoenix House, the morning sun glinting off its aluminum skin, the cliff embracing its foundation, the community awakening within and around it, viewers around the world paused their scrolling, moved by the sight of what was once discarded now soaring with new purpose.